Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome to ABS News Talk tonight with yours truly, Chris Anu, as usual, coming to you from the great state of Texas. Precisely, Houston, Texas. It's a privilege to be back with you today after a long while. Thank you for tuning in, and as usual, if you are joining by way of social media, please go ahead, hit your share button. Same thing if you are watching by way of YouTube, you go ahead and hit your share button and let everybody out there know that the anchor man is not just live, he is indeed alive and coming to you with exciting education, information on what goes on with the Ambazonian struggle for independence actualization. So please go ahead, hit your share button. I'm going to be right back in a few minutes to begin the show proper. Stay tuned, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once more, good evening and thanks for joining me tonight. For those of you watching from Africa by way of satellite, I'd like to welcome you too for tuning in to be part of this broadcast tonight. This promises to be very, very exciting and educating. So please, again, if you are watching by way of the social media, I see the numbers dangling to and fro. Facebook has been playing its own too on us for the past few months, but we're not going to falter because of what Facebook is doing out there. But please hit your share button. Hit your share button. Let's have hundreds on Facebook, hundreds on YouTube. I realize recently we are being watched now more on YouTube than on Facebook, whereas we used to have thousands watching on each episode on Facebook. So please do me the favor, let the numbers jump. If you are here watching by Facebook, hit your share button and invite others to join. Tonight, we'll be talking about two things, addressing two things. Number one, the burning of taxis in Bamenda by so-called ADF fighters. We're going to address that tonight with the panel. Also tonight, I'm going to be having a very special discussion, call it an interview, with the son of Albert MUKONG, the man that I believe is a household name in every Ambazonian home today. If you live up to the late 90s and perhaps early 2000s, I think he died around 2004 or so. I will be joined by the son, KWAME MUKONG, for an exclusive interview on what he is proposing out there to be the way forward to resolving this conflict between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. These are the things, the subjects that I bring to you today. So again, do me the favor, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I want to see at least 100 people watching by way of Facebook. I have the monitors in front of me. I see every number and everyone who joins. 40 or 39 people to go. Hit your share button. Again, if you are watching by way of Facebook. If you are on YouTube, I can see the figures. The monitor is quite far here, but please hit your share button. Let the numbers jump on Facebook particularly, because that I can see very closely to me here. While you bring the numbers on, I'd like to thank all of you in the DMV area who were there to welcome me for the tour that took place at the weekend. I really want to appreciate your fervency in standing for this struggle to make sure that we take it to the logical end. I want to appreciate all of you who donated $500, $1,000, $50, whatever amount that you chipped in, it amounted to something, and I can assure you we left there being able to buy at least, I would say at least, 5 AKs for the prosecution of this war. And I'd like to thank every restoration fighter there on Ground Zero for the wonderful work that you guys are doing on the ground. Your bravery, your courage, your resilience has been noted. Each time that La République du Cameroon has thought it was coming to an end, you showed up in your bravery and resilience. You sent a strong message to La République du Cameroon. It is not over till it is over. It is not over till it is over. I'd like to thank you, all of you, the restoration fighters on Ground Zero, and to every civilian on Ground Zero. We also want to thank you for your tenacity in making sure that Ambazonia's dream for a true, free, and independent country remains a project that we must achieve. We must achieve. Lots of you send messages to me. I have over 2,000 contacts, most of them from Ground Zero, in my phone, ladies and gentlemen. And so when I say I receive messages from Ground Zero, I receive lots and lots and lots and lots of those messages coming from Ground Zero. And so we know what Ground Zero thinks. We know what their wishes are. We know their resilience. We know, we know their plan is for a free and independent Ambazonia, nothing else. And I want to thank you for your resilience for the past 7 years and counting. We're going to be making 8 years in August. Yeah, I think 8 years in September. 2 cubes of sugar refuse. 2 cubes of sugar refuse to dissolve. And when they do, they're not even going to dissolve, ladies and gentlemen. They are not going to dissolve. That is my promise to you. We have all the time in the world to prosecute this war to the logical end. La République du Cameroon doesn't have that time, but we do. We do. And we will make good use of that time. I think I read over the weekend, I read a few days ago, I think that was yesterday, that Cameroon has signed, 50 billion CFA loan from the United Kingdom. You can get all the loans you want. I bet you that is not going to stop Ambazonia from prosecuting the war. We will use our 5 stones. Our 5 stones. You use your millions. It is not how much you got that matters. It is the willingness to do it. It is the spirit to do it. Your soldiers do not have the spirit because they know it is an unjust war. You are fighting for the wrong cause. But Ambazonia fights for the right cause. And that is why our resilience, our perseverance is our own money. And we will make sure that we take it to the logical end. So ladies and gentlemen, stay put. In the next 1 minute or 50 seconds, I will be back with my first guest. Please don't touch your remote. Stay put. All right, thanks for staying put, ladies and gentlemen. I come to you today with a very special interview, and that interview is being conducted with somebody I call a friend and a comrade in this struggle for Ambazonia's independent actualization. I am referring to the son of the venerable Albert Mukong, whom we all know. His name remains a household name in Ambazonia. I grew up in my activism for a free and independent Ambazonia, knowing Albert Mukong and working with him as KWAME can attest. From those days, I was one of his leg soldiers in those days in Bamenda, running around and doing stuff for him and working in the newspaper with Albert Mukong. Then the struggle was about the return to the 1961 federal structure that we inherited from independence with La République du Cameroon. It wasn't yet about independence. But Albert Mukong was there in Boya in the AAC1 and AAC2, where the line was drawn in Bamenda to the effect that if La République du Cameroon did not consider going back to the 1961 federal structure, that Ambazonia was ready, the southern Cameroons was ready to cut off and form a country of its own. Albert Mukong was at the center stage when those decisions were taken. Again, both in Bamenda, both in Boya and in Bamenda, 1993 and 1994. Since then, Albert has long gone, and but he got a son who is out also in this cause, but recently speaking a different language from what we all speak. The language of the return to a federation instead of a free and independent Southern Cameroons. After the teachers and lawyers protest, ladies and gentlemen, in 2016, our syndicate, the professional syndicates, the drivers, the teachers, the lawyers, and all that you can name, they formed a syndicate, demanded a return again to the 1961 federal structure. And La République du Cameroon, responding to their request, arrested them, locked them up. Some are still behind bars today, but they have not only refused to consider heed that call, they have called us 2 cubes of sugar, hoping that the 2 cubes of sugar will dissolve within 2 weeks of this conflict. And also for the 7 years and counting that the conflict has been ongoing, Cameroon has refused to come to the table of negotiations. We have been in Switzerland, we have been to Canada, and Cameroon has refused to sit down with us to discuss not even that return to the 1961 status. Of course, talk less of a free, independent Ambazonia. Cameroon refuses to come to the table. Now, for the 7 years and counting of this conflict, ladies and gentlemen, of course, Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, they are divided. They have different views. There are those who believe in a one and indivisible Cameroon in whatever structure, it doesn't matter. Then you have those who strictly adhere to the idea of the return to the federal system as of 1961. You also have those who believe, the country, the population has grown, and so they should maintain the status quo, give autonomy to the 10 regions, and so that each region can rule itself, elect its own officials, its own governors, mayors, and so on. But then you also have those of us, absolutely, in the majority, who say after all these years, 61 years, living together with La République du Cameroon, it is time to go back and become a country of our own. It is time to rewrite the wrongs that were precipitated by the absence of the United Nations, the United Kingdom, to give Ambazonia a country, an independence of its own in 1961. And I believe, this is not an overstatement, This is where the majority of Ambazonians stand today. And so here to answer these questions on why they need, ladies and gentlemen, for a going back to a federation that La Republic has rejected. The need from going back to an independence, going to independence, but going to a federation that La Republic has rejected. He is here to explain why he thinks that that is the solution. I am here referring to, again, KWAME MUKONG, the son of, again, the Venerable Albert MUKONG. KWAME, it's a pleasure to have you, sir. It's been a while. Good to see you.
My pleasure, Comrade Chris. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reach out to your viewers to explain these routes that I have chosen to pursue to bring a resolution to the crisis that we have experienced for the 7 to 8 years in our beloved land. Thank you.
All right. Before I get on with you, I would like the audience to stay put. Take 1 minute, listen to this.
Women, boys and girls on this 26th of May 2024. One of the reasons why some people in very high places in Africa have not offered to actively seek a solution to the crisis in Cameroon is because there are many factions. That's what they say, and they do not know which one to deal with. The government of Cameroon also makes this claim as if it lacks the network to know the right set of people to work with. Among the many things that these close to 8 years of war has proven to us is the gross disrespect of Southern Cameroonians or Ambazonians or West Cameroonians or Anglophones at all levels by the Yaoundé administration and the other Francophones who aspire to lead the Republic of Cameroon someday. This war could have been avoided if the administration did not see it as an opportunity to forcefully crush or dissolve the 2 cubes of sugar and complete its goal of assimilating the people of Southern Cameroon. The voices, yes, the voices in the bushes have held the fort for all whose origin is from west of the Mongo. You may accept it or not, but the truth about it is, if the voices were not there to hold the fort, we would have been crushed like 2 cubes of sugar. So many innocent souls have been lost on both sides. So much revenue has been lost, and so much national debt has been incurred. We could have avoided this war, but we did not. And now that we are here, what is the way forward? Fellow countrymen and women, I, by this, am reporting for duty, not by my might, not by my power, but by his spirit. I'm not reporting to active duty to compete with anyone. I'm not reporting to active duty to take anyone's place or market share. I am reporting to active duty to present an alternative. I'm coming with an invitation that has your name on it. You who cares about the livelihood of the have-nots, just like you care about the security and quiet enjoyment of the have-much. You who cares about the education of the children of the poor who cannot afford to leave their homes and go to school in areas where the conflict is less severe. You who wants to be sure that your relatives feel at home at home. You who wants to travel freely anywhere in Cameroon and not feel as if someone is looking at you and thinking, enemy in the house. I come with an invitation to all who call Northwest and Southwest a home of their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. I'm inviting all the IDPs and refugees and all in the diaspora to welcome this invitation and report to this active duty and permit the ideology.
All right.
To guide.
KWAME, I can understand you there reporting for active duty. I tried to listen to the entirety of the message. I think I did like at least three times to come to the understanding of the message you are trying to pass. It wasn't very clear to me, but if I gathered anything, it was that you are advocating for a return to 1961 federal structure when we had East and West Cameroon. Am I correct?
That would be correct, Comrade Chris. That would be very, very correct. And I'm looking at where we are, where we have come from, and I'm looking at what I have been able to experience from my encounters, and I'm looking at what we can achieve in the cheapest or the least with the least loss of human life. We can achieve that. I'm looking at the reality on the ground. I'm looking at how much more we want to lose before we get to where we are supposed to be. And I feel and I'm convinced that going this route is attainable. So that's why I am coming out to say, let us put hands together and fight for a return to the 1961 dispensation.
I know we have spoken quite a lot through messages, exchanging messages. You often send me ideas on things that we can do to actualize this vision we are pursuing. I never for once thought you are supporting a return to federation instead of a free and independent Ambazonia. Have you always, I mean, all this time we've been talking, always stand for federation?
I have never always stood for federation. I've always stood for the rights of the people. I've always stood for the quiet enjoyment of the people. And it goes without saying that we have been treated with gross disrespect by the people of East Cameroon. Now, because I'm going for two-state federation, I will acknowledge East Cameroon and I'll acknowledge West Cameroon. I acknowledge what our people have done on the ground. And by our people, I'm saying those voices who have upheld the military aspect of this struggle. Backtracking a little bit, our struggle has three components that we all agree on. The first of which is military, the second is humanitarian, and the third is a diplomatic offensive. When we look at the various areas and how they are being administered, most people would agree that there is a loophole in the area of diplomacy. And what my campaign is doing is trying to fill that gap. We have justification about being a sovereign nation. We have that justification. But we have lived for a very long time as people who are begging to live with the people of East Cameroon. Any and everything that is done in our section of the country comes across as if we are receiving a favor from the administration in Yaoundé. Having done some groundwork, having traveled around the continent a bit on these issues, I understand that what we can easily harness support for is a return to the two-state federation as was in 1961. And I believe that if we return to a two-state federation and we are also able to have duly elected leadership, for the most part, people who are home-based, we are going to have the type of country, at least west of the Mong, that we have desired for. We are going to have those very things that Yaoundé has tried to strip off of our own very lifestyle. So this, I want everyone who is involved in the struggle to understand that each and every one of us has the liberty to pursue what we believe would bring a solution to the crisis. And if we also look at each other as people who are doing efforts that can complement each other, then we will not have a question of questioning someone with which routes they are taking. I think having a conversation like this is a good opportunity to make us understand each other, and then we see how we can use the positives of each of the aspects to advance our cause.
Yeah, I hear you. However, you know, everybody is asking out there, after all these years in which your father fought for a return to a federation, never succeeded, died without seeing one. We now have been fighting for 8 years and not a word have we heard from the Republic of Cameroon officials. And so the question is, why do you believe a federation is going to happen if they have not, you are not the first person vocally expressing the need for a return to federation. And so the question becomes, why not join those who say Cameroon has refused to adhere to the 1961 constitution, where the federal structure was not supposed to be banished, dismantled in a ways? Join the independent movement and let us fight for a free Ambazonia and not a return to some federal state. I'm going to come to some details that we have in that constitution, which you read in your message, which you presented in your message. But to make this short, do you think if your daddy was alive today, you would be supporting a return to a federal Cameroon instead of a free and independent Ambazonia?
The question of if my dad was alive today, we can only guess. But from where he died, if I say that his ideas at the point of his death just froze right there. At that time, the country was not accepting even that we talk of federation. That's where he was. And I know that his position could have likely progressed to where we are today, given the gross disrespect, given the gross marginalization, given the declaration of war by Mr. Paul Biya against the people of West Cameroon. I believe that, it's a projection. I can project from there to say that he could have stood for an outright separation. But at the same time, I am a son of that man. And like anyone who sits down to watch their father build a house, it is difficult for them to stand outside of that house and throw stones at it to bring it down. They struggle.
Well,
They suffer.
I'm sorry. Let me stop you a little bit there when you refer to your father building a house. He did not succeed to build the house. He died fighting to build a house. He didn't succeed, but of course, nobody blames him for that because he did the best that any human being would have done. But you cannot say he succeeded in building the house, as we won't be at war today, isn't it?
Chris, Comrade Chris, the house I'm talking about is the house that they built in the 50s. The house that in 1961, 1st of October 1961, culminated in a federal republic. That's the house I'm talking about. They built that house, it crumbled. And I am in a position to ask myself a question. Do I want to destroy that house, or do I want to help to rebuild it? Our people deserve better than how this crisis has been administered.
Are you saying that, I'm sorry, are you saying that what those who are fighting for, those who are fighting for a free Ambazonia today are destroying, essentially destroying what was built in 1961 because it doesn't exist?
It doesn't exist. It is a good starting point. And those who are fighting for a restoration of the independent Republic of Southern Cameroons or Ambazonia, they have a very, very legal foot to stand on. I don't dispute that. It is the Republic of Cameroon that seceded from the Union. So they have a very, very legal foot to stand on to fight for a separate nation. Now, how has the military phase of, or the military tactic of our struggle been implemented? If we could have unity in the way that the military tactic was implemented, I believe that people would have stood with that position to say, you know what, the least we can get at this time is an independent Republic of Southern Cameroons or Ambazonia, depending on how you want to call it. But we have a problem there, and our people are dying. We have a problem there, and our children are not going to school. We have a problem there. Our businesses are being stifled, and the list goes on. And why is that? It's because people cannot manage their egos, and they cannot manage their greed, and they don't have control over the people whom they claim they have control over. And they are manipulating people who are back home to commit atrocities against the same people that we say we are fighting for. So when I look at how the military tactic has been managed, I feel like this diplomatic option that I am choosing is going to even help that military option better. Maybe people will start reasoning and saying it is time for us to just ask for a two-state federation and build our country in that way. So that's my position here. Like I said earlier, Comrade Chris, any reasonable person who is prosecuting this war from the aspect of the humanitarian tactic or the aspect of the military tactic should take a good look at what I am doing and see the positives of it and see how we can come together to use these tactics to bring a speedy solution to this crisis. 8 years is a lot. It's a lot of time. How much longer do we want to wait to get a solution to this crisis?
As much as I may agree with your tactic, I think I disagree on the end game to that tactic. If you are talking about how many people have died and how many are still going to die, how many years we still got into this, comrade, you look at our own, we are just starting. If you look at other struggles around the world, you look at Somaliland, you look at Eritrea, you look at South Sudan, you look at the Swahili Republic, I mean, all these conflict zones, ask yourself the question, how long did it take them to succeed? And then you'll be able to answer the question. But I agree with you on one thing. The inconveniences that some of these leaders on ground zero are putting on our people, I am in disagreement with that. If I have the ability to do it, I will do everything to limit the pain and the suffering that they inflict on our people. But we cannot compromise the freedoms of this generation and the generations to come with people who are killed by French Cameroon because they want to keep us as slaves. There has to be a sacrifice, comrade. I'm talking as someone who has lost people, lost everything in this struggle. I am not giving up. You are giving up to turn to what?
So I am not calling
sorry, let me reframe the question. If we go back to federation, what are we going back to? Who is offering it? Who is offering it in the first place? We have had the Munzus and so on who talk about federation. Even down on ground zero, you have people from within La Republique du Cameroon who believe that is the right way to go. If you go back to a 1961 federal system, or some call it autonomy, where the 10 regions become autonomous. We have a one-party system that still dictates what happens in that government, in that country. But even if you don't have a one-party system, you have all these mushroom parties joining the CPDM, you still have a situation where the majority parliamentarians in Yaoundé outweigh the number of Southern Cameroon's representatives, and so any bill from Southern Cameroonians will fail, and any bill from Francophone Cameroon will pass, and they will use it to clamp down on us. Nothing will change. Comrade, when you advocate for federation, don't you think about this?
Thank you, Comrade Chris. I do think about those things, and I know that that is not how it's supposed to be. That's not how it's going to be. A two-state federation gives the equal powers to each state. Before a federal decision is taken, there has to be consensus. I mean, there has to be majority approval of that position in the House of Assembly of West Cameroon, as well as that of the Assembly of the East Cameroon. So it will not be a situation where the majority opinion will be just rammed down the throats of the minority. That's not what we are talking about.
But what are the guarantees that you will even get what you are asking? That's one of the problems.
What are the guarantees that I'll even get what I am asking?
Correct.
First of all, returning to a federation, a two-state federation, is a demonstration of level-headedness. It's a demonstration of maturity. It's a demonstration of a more advanced thinking of the people, as opposed to the outright separation. We have every qualification to be as a standalone country, but we are choosing on this journey of a two-state federation to go for a two-state federation. If we are going for a two-state federation at this time, the agreements that we will have in place will not be what they had back in the day, where Yaoundé was able to just, take things and run with them the way President Ahidjo did at the time, and how Mr. Paul Biya came and continued. We are going to have an agreement with, in this case, it's going to be Southern Cameroons having an agreement with La République du Cameroon that will equally include a hammer provision on or in the constitution, such that any abrogation of the constitution, as was done to Article 47 of the Federal Constitution, will just mean that the country has seceded and the other country will be a standalone. I mean, we have, our case is very, very clear, but we have destroyed it so much by the way that the military wing has administered their own track. There are so many.
It comes across to me as, instead of blaming La République du Cameroun for adhering to the voices of the people, you are kind of instead blaming us who are fighting to take back our rights. If Cameroon had listened to your daddy and said, okay, it is time to go back to the federal system, if he had listened to the teachers, the lawyers, 2016, we won't be here. And we wouldn't be talking about the consequences of war that we'll find on ground zero. Why do you want to blame it on those who are fighting to take back what belongs to them?
I would be a fool to blame it on those who are fighting to restore their rights. I did not say that. And what I want us to understand very clearly is that if the people who took up arms did not do that, we will not even be able to talk about federation in that country. So what they have done is very useful. And in strategy on a journey like this one, where there is no standard playbook, after every tactic is deployed, people should go back to the drawing board and assess, what have we gained? How can we reduce our losses? How can we, which track can we get onto, which will bring a speedy solution to our situation? The voices, as I would refer to, have done an excellent job to prove that we are not pushovers, to prove that we cannot be crushed, to prove that the ideology of the people cannot be overrun.
Again, from
Bear with me 1 second. So, with this, because they have done this, the people who have failed us are those who were given the opportunity to manage the voices and have blown it for selfish gains, for egos, for whatever reason. Now, what these people, what the voices have been able to accomplish is more than enough down payment for diplomacy to move from there and achieve results for our people. When you ask Yaoundé to return to a federal system of government, the first thought in mind is that they are not going to listen, as they have not listened all the years. But is that really the case? I don't think so. Otherwise, I would not be doing this.
Are you saying that they listen? Are you saying that they listen because we wouldn't be fighting today if they had listened? In fact, your dad went to jail, spent time in jail, wrote the book "Criminal Without a Crime" for advocating for what people are dying for today.
Yaoundé has not listened in the past, and every time that they have not listened, the response has been a notch higher, a step higher. Okay? So if we want to go back at AAC 1, they were asking for a return to the two-state federation. Yaoundé did not behave as if anything had happened.
Right.
They moved, by the time we're having the Bamenda proclamation, it was, they were looking at a zero option, which means a return to an independent state. Are these legitimate? Yes, they are legitimate. How? Our case has been won in court by Fonfongun Gojidinka. He won a case for us in the High Court of Bamenda, which was contested by the Yaoundé administration, like you had said earlier in one of your broadcasts. And they took him to the military tribunal. He still won, took to the Supreme Court, and by technical default, he won, which means in 3 levels in Cameroon, the case has been won for an independent Southern Cameroons, or Ambazonia as the fund calls it. But Yaoundé has not listened. And because they haven't listened all this while, they didn't even know our story. The average person from East Cameroon does not really know our story. They feel like we are just a stubborn set of people. They feel like the government has been doing us so much favor, yet we are not satisfied. But being the peaceful and reasonable and strong and mature people that we are, we'll carry this our message to the masses and let them know that this is where we are. This is why we are doing what we are doing. And it is time for you to rise up. If you believe that we should stay together as a federation, La République, the people from East Cameroon have some litmus tests that they have to pass. I'm going to present this, and if they cannot pass those tests, I believe that it will be difficult for us to continue to advocate for this. I'm advocating for it, even with the understanding that the majority of the people of Southern Cameroons, the majority of the people whom I will refer to as West Cameroon, prefer an independent nation. That is the majority position from the polls.
Thank you for making that point. And my next question to that will be, what will be your recourse to Cameroon rejecting your federation? We have seen that for over 60 years, they rejected it. We started this conflict, independence struggle with federation. They rejected it. They pushed us to where essentially we are. So when they say you don't have any right to a federation, what next do you turn to? When they rejected federation, we turned to independence. What are you going to turn to?
When they reject federation, by the time they get to, if they get to mistakenly, I repeat, if they get to mistakenly reject federation,
they have rejected it, comrade.
Well,
for over 60 years, they demolished it, rejected it, and they have said federation is secession.
Comrade Chris, we have to look at the passing times, the changing times, and appreciate where we are. If we had had a push like this prior to 2016, do you believe that they would have addressed us as 2 cubes of sugar? That they
I think we did. I think we did. People like your dad did. I mean, your dad was a kind of firebrand that when they said tomorrow, he said today, today, today. And you look at AAC 1, AAC 2, the storming of Radio Boya and confiscating it and broadcasting for a few hours and so on. I mean, our people were doing, they fought this fight for a return to federation for For all these years, and all we got were arrest, detention, prisoners without crimes, and people going on exile. You know that. You know that. I came on exile for doing that. You know that. I was there with your dad. You remember in those days. So,
That's right.
comrade, my
Now,
problems with your articulation is if it was 10 years ago, I would say it's a great point. Let's go for it. Let's fight it. But after doing it, they say you do the same thing over and over and over and over. You become stupid, you look stupid, and suggesting that we'll go back for what we have fought for over 60 years, didn't get it, they didn't even acknowledge it, makes us look stupid.
So that could be a point of view, but it is not stupidity. It's a display of maturity. It's a display of level-headedness. It's a display of the fact that we know exactly where we want to go. Now, we grew up learning that there are many ways of catching a rat without cutting its tail. There are many ways of going to Rome. There are many ways of going to wherever we are going. And this route that I'm proposing is one of such ways. And let me explain something. In 1993, when they had EAC 1, it was the first time that we had about plus 5,000 people gathered together, calling themselves at that time Anglophones, to press down for the position of a return to the federal structure of 1961. Nothing was done. No positive response from Yaoundé. We know that.
Right.
When we progressed, all they kept doing was the force of argument, not the argument of force. But we have progressed from there, and there is demonstration from our people that any way that Yaoundé comes, we are equal to them. So what does that mean? It tells Yaoundé, you need to sit back and rethink your decisions. Let me explain something to you. I believe you know this, and if you just think a bit about it, you'll remember. The person at the helm of Cameroon right now, Mr. Paul Biya, has authority to serve as the father of both West Cameroon and East Cameroon until he dies. You know that. And why do I say this? I say this because in 1985, all the funds of the Northwest and all the chiefs of the Southwest made him the paramount traditional leader of these two, they called them provinces at the time. And that is the total territory of the Southern Cameroons. He has that spiritual authority over the land, and whether we agree to some of these things or not, they happen to be true.
But he stands for, comrade, he stands for a free and independent Ambazonia, though.
Who, Paul Biya?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were referring to Dinka. Go on.
No. For Dinka stands for its separate, independent Ambazonia. That's his position. But this is Paul Biya's position. It's Paul Biya who is the paramount traditional leader of the entire Cameroon, East Cameroon and West Cameroon. So, what I know from the tradition of the Northwest province, where my father comes from, or they call it a region today, in the Southwest, where my mother comes from, is that you don't elect chiefs, you don't elect funds. Once they are there, they are fathers, they remain there for life. They can only abdicate, like we saw how my mother's fund did before he passed on from Mukete. So Pobia has that, and we are bringing this to him as a last push to say you need to fix your house before you pass on. We are bringing this to him at a time where everything we do will be live, and those whom we have talked with concerning our crisis will be aware of what is happening. So it will be up to them. They will also be aware that what we are doing is being observed, and there will be communications with them. If they choose, if they decide to be stupid, if they decide to be foolish, to say no to a two-state federation, then there will be no other option.
All right. Comrade, I would like you to stay put there and let me bring in my panel to join us for a moment. Please stay put. I will be right back, and when I come back, I will be joined by the panel. Please don't go away. The exciting half of it is still to come. All right. I am being joined tonight by Comrade Dennis Atem, who is joining me somewhere from Africa. Dr. Fontem Neba joining me from the USA, and Barrister Tubasang Martin joining from the United Kingdom. It's a privilege to have you. Gentlemen, you have been listening to Kwame Mukong on his proposal on how to get us out of this quagmire conflict between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. I wonder what is going on in your mind listening to him all this while. Let me start with Dr. Fontem, whose first time it is to be on the News Talk. Dr. Neba, good to have you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Comrade Chris. My very warm regards to Mr. Kwame Mukong, and thanks for your father's sacrifice. I pray that you will be able to live up to the expectations of your father, because he remains an icon in the history of the Southern Cameroons. I permit me to also do a quick recap of some of the things that Comrade Mukong has said, and so it enables us to be able to have a better perspective of uh, uh, his position in the current discussion. Comrade Mukong is an advocate for a return to the 1961 federal system because it is costly in terms of human lives, because the present option is costly in terms of human lives. People are asking for independence, and Comrade Mukong thinks that if we persist in that direction, we'll continue to lose lives. So it is cheaper to advocate for a return to the 1961 federal structure. And he says that he has always stood for the freedom of our people, although he hasn't always been an advocate of the federal structure. So this is, we may take that to mean a change of heart. Then he commends the voices on the ground. He credits them for their outstanding bravery and thanks them for having been able to sustain uh, the resistance, which La Republique thought was just going to be a 2-week campaign. Then he says that thanks to his peregrinations, his travels and contacts have given him cause to believe that a return to the 1961 federal system is achievable or is possible. Then he also says that he is in a dilemma whether to re-establish the Southern Cameroons or to establish uh, the East and West Cameroons as the case might be. He also says that his diplomatic approach can yield a breakthrough where the armed movement has not. And finally, he says that our military movement has failed in the way they have administered their objective. So I think as a teacher, I made it a point of duty to note some of the critical things that Comrade Mukong said, so that in the course of our discussion, we do not miss those very important points. Once again, I want to thank he bless the memory of his father for everything that he did, for the light that he shone on the problem that has that we are presently confronting. And I want to first of all, I want to also say that in the course of our discussion, it will permit some of us to differ very markedly from this position that he has taken, because when you look at the history of our people and the relationship we have had with La République du Cameroon, you realize that our history has been checkered. La République has not only shown disrespect for us, we have been abused by La République, we have been raped by La République du Cameroon. And if you are talking about federation, you are it will be like pouring water on a dead back, because on several occasions, French Cameroon or La République du Cameroon has had the opportunity to resolve this problem, and they have simply chosen the ostrich approach. When they had the controversial national dialogue in Yaoundé, and the issue of, there were a number of people who went there and who advocated, who asked for a return to the 1961 federal system. Some people asked for the 10-state federation. And what La République du Cameroon told them was that, and it was well contrived, because those who came there had a script that they were following. And I think I remember René Zengele, who once was Minister of, I think, Culture or Education. Yes, René Zengele. He said it, that they, meaning Francophones or French Cameroon citizens, don't know anything about federalism because it is not in their practice. And so what they are familiar with will be a special status. And when you listen to the way Francophones talk on TV, they don't know us. We have lived together for 60 years, but they don't know us. They don't know us. And let me just give you a bit of context why I think they don't know us. I grew up in Yaoundé, and I speak one of the languages in Yaoundé. So it means that I lived in Yaoundé for at least 22 years. And French Cameroon citizens were groomed, were brought up to think that we are very stupid, and that we are Biafrans who ran away from the war in Nigeria and came to their country, and they gave us land. And now we are trying to assert a claim. We are not trying to stake a claim. That is how terrible it is. And the reason why they did not teach their children their history was deliberate, so that they will not understand us, so that their script will prevail. And that has accounted for the thousands of Cameroonians who have died in this senseless war. It accounts for the poverty our people have lived through. Do you realize that our graduates don't have any role, and they don't have anything to do when they leave the university these days? Even the University of Boyada was once the place to be. They have they make it a point of duty to dismantle anything that we have that has value. Are you telling me that they are going to change suddenly? This is a country where their president admitted that they tried to assimilate us, and that the war is the result of a failed assimilation because our people fought back. I was at the beginning in 2016 when these issues started. And all these ministers the government sent to meet us, were telling us was that, oh no, you stop this thing, the head of state will decide in his own time what to do. Which means that they don't even think that as a people, they don't even recognize the judgments, that the cases that we have won against them. They don't even recognize that we are a people. These are people who have graded tarred roads and promised that they were going to tar us bigger ones. And we lived on those terrible roads for more than 50 years. French Cameroon think that we are fools. We are the only people in the world on whose territory an untarred road was commissioned. That means we assembled and a ribbon was cut for a road that was not tarred. And we clapped. Then we thought we were in a federation. And so we cannot continue to live with people who roll us in the mud and dry us in the sun and roll us again in the mud. And every time we stand up, we have a cake of mud on our bodies. And before I take a break, these are people who have killed us daily. And when you ask them, they say, we are going to give Anglophones this. They are not asking us what Anglophones want. Cameroon has indicated previously that they wanted to talk with us. They informed the government of Switzerland. Southern Cameroonians went to Switzerland. Cameroon did not show up. They later on claimed that they did not send anybody to talk to us. They embarrassed the Swiss. Cameroon invited us to Canada. We went to Canada and they ran away from Canada, picked all the documents and ran away with them, including even those they had signed. And later on, damned us and said, they didn't send anybody to Canada. Are those the people you still want to trust and live with? The answer is blowing in the wind.
Thank you so much.
All right. Comrade Kwame, let Comrade Dennis come in, so if you have a response, you can respond to both of them at the same time, please.
Okay.
Chris, and I welcome Mr. Mukong for his idea. But what I find uninteresting is the time that Comrade Chris has taken to debate this issue. If you listen to Comrade Mukong, I don't know whether to address him as a comrade or Mr. Mukong, you will see that you just need a little bit of history to discover that this is completely, what he's proposing is so illusory and absurd that I don't know how it could come out of his mouth as a son of Mr. Abel Mukong. Because you see, let us go back to the slave trade. He's like somebody who is saying, oh, you see, it took so long for slavery to end, so let me just accept this slavery and become a slave forever. You know, remember that the slaves did not have an army as we have. You get the point? The slaves did not have an army to fight to liberate themselves from slavery. The day that your master was angry with you, he could put down your hand and cut it with a cutlass, with a machete, with an axe. And nobody, not even the neighbor, will ask what happened. You get the point. That is as helpless as the slaves were. But nevertheless, after 400 years, they were free. Now you came to apartheid South Africa, which had all the weapons, did everything that it wanted, unleashed the dogs on the people, yet the people persisted and they got the freedom. You could name, Mr. Mukong has not understood what we are facing. If you discover that all the people of the Southern Cameroons came out in 2016, 2017, we came out in 1993, 1994, and made all the summaries asking for federation. And Cameroon just ignored it completely. Today, Mr. Moko is believing that his lone voice will be able to convince Cameroon where the murder of thousands of people has not done it. All the Southern Cameroons assembling and writing officially has not done it. Canada, Switzerland has not done it. And Mr. Moko is in the illusion that he will be able to convince Cameroon to accept federation. But let us assume that he was able to do that. What would it be? It is you have fought until you say you are tired, you put down your weapons and come and beg that, please just kindly accept me to be a slave. So, what voice would you have even to negotiate if you are even thinking that it will be a negotiation? How would you ever be able to negotiate? You tell me. So, Mr. Muko is wrapping something in his mind without any concrete evidence. I want him to show me one single example of a successful federation between two independent countries in the world, not just in Africa. Because if you don't learn from history, then you will never learn. You can't understand our emotions. And then you will find that at the end of the day, your situation is more, even worse than it was before.
All
You
right.
have your territory within traditional boundaries. La République du Cameroon has no instrument that gives it jurisdiction over a territory. Despite all of that, you go back and say you want federation. On what basis at all? What is the basis of the federation? If you were even to negotiate a federation, you have no ability to negotiate once you put down your weapons and come begging La République du Cameroon for negotiation. So what are you going to negotiate? Well, how can you even negotiate? There will be no negotiation with a slave. That is the fact of the matter. And Mr. Muko must understand this. There will be no negotiations with a Southern Cameroon that puts on his weapons and come and beg La République du Cameroon for federation. There will be no negotiation.
All right. Comrade Chumasang, please.
Thank you so much,
Comrade
Comrade
Chumasang, go
Chumasang.
on before
Comrade Chris,
Comrade
I
comes in
listened.
and with a response.
Comrade Chris, good evening, and good evening to other members of the panel. To be honest, I've been on these panels for many times. I've listened to many people talk. But when, I don't know whether to call him Mr. Mukong or the Mukong son or whatever, was talking, I was almost falling asleep. To be honest, I was struggling to be awake because I couldn't find what he's saying. It's very difficult to get his message, what is new. I listened to an audio he prepared before coming here. In the audio, I couldn't get his message. It seems as if he was selling his father. My father was this, my father was that. His father we know. Gorky Tinka we also know. But who is this Mukong son and what is his message? He says he's reporting for duty. 8 years of a war, he's reporting for duty today, an absentee son who is coming to regurgitate a position which has been said by so many people. I couldn't find, me to be honest, anything new in what he said. So he is trying to talk about federation, whether he is trying to go and join the other people, the Abobalas, the barrister who and the other people who have been there. It's a crowded field. He's not coming with anything new. He's explaining to us how federation work. Is that how we don't know how federations work? First of all, we are not the ones who abolished the federation. La République du Cameroon abolished the federation. If he wants to talk about federation, let him talk in French to the people who abolished the federation. Whether they can give him the federation, why is he talking to us? Did we abolish any federation? Do we have a power to offer any federation? La Republique is the one that abolished the federation. Talk to them in the language of their country. Ask for whatever you're asking. To be honest, what is strange is, Chris, Comrade Chris, I'm directing this to you. We are in a war, 8 years of war. La Republique has controlled what the press in his country is saying about the war. A writer, you cannot write anything carelessly in their press. Even those in television and TV, you cannot say it. You go to Ukraine, Ukraine has controlled what they can say. You go to Russia, you control anywhere there is war. But this is the only television where we bring people with unionist views, with federalist views every time to be propagating here. What is he coming to do? We are the middle of a war. This is not a democracy. We are the middle of a war. Either you are with us or you are gathering with us or you are scattering. What is he coming to be telling us? To throw down our tools and come and beg La Republique? What is all this every day about bringing the unionists? If you want to end the war, Comrade Chris, for this, let's end the war. This is not the nature of debate. This is a war. We are in the middle. Please, this is what I can say because I've listened to him. I don't see what he's offering. Have you learned any new thing he has brought in world? What he say? I'm falling asleep. I'm sorry about it. After 8 years, a guy comes and says reporting to duty. All the 10,000 people they were killing, where was he? That he's reporting now. I don't have time for all this to be.
KWAME, I think you've listened to the three panelists there. What is your response to their opinion?
I would say thank you all for your opinions. You have a right to your opinion. Nobody can take that away from you. Comrades, is it Tumasan? I am happy that when you listen to my presentation, it makes you fall asleep. That's your disposition. No one can take that away from you. It is that attitude. Let me state that clearly to you. It is that attitude that is causing us to lose as many lives as we are losing. I have read your write-ups, and I expect that you are supposed to be more reasonable than you speak. I have read your write-ups, and I have seen your arguments, your logical presentation of arguments. I would have thought that you would be someone who is more open-minded to entertain what others are saying. There is no one who has absolute knowledge of everything that we need to do to take us to Boya. We're either going to Boya as a sovereign nation or we are going to Boya as a federation. No single individual has that monopoly. And when you tell one of us that you are either for us or you are not with us, you get it wrong. Every Southern Cameroonian counts. Our voices all count. You need to know that and take that back to whichever group you stand with. That is the reality of it. When you say things like this, you go ahead and disenfranchise so many people. Let me explain to you what I mean by I am returning to or reporting to active duty. Go back and watch the tapes of May 20th, 2018. You would see me in Rome. Okay? Now, Comrade Chris should be aware that when this crisis started, Seseko has my phone number that would tell you that I am not just coming now. And by Seseko, I mean Seseko Ayuktabe. He has my phone number. I had not known him before that time. But what happened? It is attitude like this that caused me to stay on the sidelines. We did a campaign, the Never Again Global campaigns. We started that campaign. We said we're going to do a three-pronged campaign. The first step was to go to Rome for 1 week to present our case, because we understood and understand even to this day that the military has to remain so that the diplomacy can work. We did that. Understood that the humanitarian has to remain so that diplomacy can work. Diplomacy has failed because they were counting on people like you who listen to other Southern Cameroonians and say they make you fall asleep. Who has given you that right to say that the opinions of another Cameroon or Southern Cameroonian doesn't count? We went to Rome. When we were in Rome for 5 straight days doing demonstrations, there are so many Southern Cameroonians who work at the sea. We met with them, made our suggestions to them. What were we calling for at that time? Unfortunately, our team had been decapitated. We were calling for the release of all our the prisoners, political prisoners. We were calling for mediation with an independent mediator, and we believed at the time that the Vatican could be such a body. We were calling for a return to a dialogue table with no preconditions. These are the things we were doing back then. Now, when we brought our reports, we reported to the frontline leaders of the time. Why? Because we had told these people, all the frontline leaders, we had told them that we will serve this movement as water boys, standing on the side to make sure that when we get information, we give them to go ahead and prosecute whichever aspect of this struggle that they were doing. But some people, I will not mention names, they did not want me to be involved in this movement for whatever reasons that they know best. Yet, it didn't stop us. We said we're going to plan a trip to the UK, 2 weeks, to do my people's plea to the Queen. That effort was frustrated by the leadership.
Comrade, if I may stop you a little short.
Where has he been?
Comrade, if I may stop you a little short there, I think the simple question that members of the panel is asking, members of the panels are asking is, why do you believe in something that has been proven will not work? Because for all these years, we tried exactly what you are suggesting. It never worked. I think Comrade Dennis wants to say something there.
Yes, please. Comrade Chris, I want to come back and ask only 2 questions to Mr. Mukong. Now, the first question is, what will be the basis of a federation when you know that Cameroon has absolutely no right to govern the Southern Cameroons? That is the first question I want him to answer. Because you cannot come and say, I have my own house, you have your own. You say, okay, let's break down the fence, then you come and govern me, and then you come and take over my own house. That is what he's saying. That is what he's saying. All of this petition for federation was completely mistaken. It was a complete abuse of our rights by our people. They were talking at that time because they are not investigating our history. They were just talking from the top of their heads. How do you ask a country that has absolutely no jurisdiction over your own country to come and govern you? And you talk about it in the federation. So I want to understand that. The second question I'm asking Mr. Mukong is, why does he prefer a war of opinions instead of opting for a referendum, an internationally supervised referendum, in which our people will be asked to say what they want? Because instead of him coming to say federation, the other person coming to say special status, why don't we all say we want a referendum for our people so that our people themselves can speak with their own mouths and tell us where they stand?
Yes, so Comrade KWAME, how about instead of looking for a federation, you say, hey, you are fighting for the people to decide what they want and not somebody telling them what they want. Exactly. How about that? Talking about a referendum.
So to the honorable panel and Comrade Chris, I would say, with all due respect, when you are going on a journey of this caliber, you can decide to tell everyone where you are going and just position opposition along your way to stop you, or you may choose not to. I am not looking for likes. I'm not looking for, followers. I'm not looking for those things. I am not asking anybody to stop what they are doing. I am bringing a very positive addition to the diplomatic phase of our struggle. Now,
the problem is where your diplomatic phase leads us to. That is the problem. Where does your diplomatic exercise take us to?
My diplomatic exercise takes us to Boya. My diplomatic exercise takes us to Boya.
Okay.
How that Boya will be determined by the response of Yaoundé with the push for federation this time. I'm not telling any people.
Comrade Chris, there again you have a problem, which is the problem that our people have faced for the past 63 years with La République du Cameroon. You cannot, after all this bloodshed, ask Yaoundé to decide what our people want. I think that then we are running around in circles, because then I think that for this discussion to progress, we need to look for a way out, because our people have to decide what they want. It is not for Yaoundé to decide. Otherwise, we shouldn't be fighting. Then we just pack our things, tell Yaoundé we are sorry that we tried to resist you before. Then take us, do what you want to do with us. Because the Yaoundé we know will never give us a federation. This is the same Yaoundé that stopped the federation. Why are they going to take us back to the federation?
Comrade Neba, please.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you are a prof. You understand how one can misconstrue someone's thoughts and lead them or steer them in a direction that maybe puts them in a trap, or maybe puts them in a place where you want them to be. Yeah. I am not saying that we are going to beg Yaoundé. Our people have begged Yaoundé. I am saying we are presenting a position with the full knowledge that the majority request of our people is separation. I know that. I am presenting the second best option. Now, if you talk about a referendum, okay? You talk about a referendum. That referendum has to be voted for and approved. And the budget for that referendum has to be approved. You need countries to stand with you to say they will vote for this. They will vote for the funding to be provided. For us to have a meaningful referendum, we have to make sure that every person who is participating in that referendum has ancestral roots to the southern Cameroons. It requires more financing than a referendum in a country like we have today. How do you get the nations of the world to stand with you? You don't stand from a position of, my way or the highway. That is where our diplomacy has gotten it wrong. I am conscious of what our people want.
No,
I am conscious of their second best option.
No. Okay. Excuse me, gentlemen. Excuse me, gentlemen. Maybe I think. Let me try to make some sense.
My advice is stand aside, watch what this movement is doing, and use it for our people. I'm not coming to become a leader of this movement. I'm not coming, I don't have the ability to ask anyone to stop what they are doing. But I'm coming to make an argument.
Are you saying that, Comrade Mukong, are you saying that where we have not been able to achieve a referendum for our people, your drive is not necessarily for us to have a two-state federation with La République du Cameroon, but for the possibility of a referendum to emerge in the course of your work, so that those who want total independence and those who want to continue to suffer with La République in a federation can express themselves through some form of a referendum at the end of the day. Is that what you're saying?
Comrade Neba, you are inferring that from what I am saying. What I am saying is that I have reported for active duty to do the diplomacy that this struggle needs. And if there is any in the leadership of the various wings, your best bet is to stand aside, watch what I am doing, and use it for our people. That is what I am saying.
All right. Comrade Tumasang, I give you the last word. Comrade Tumasang, the last word.
Yeah, Comrade Chris, if you go to in Ukraine, a few people came up that people are dying too much. They should try and compromise in the Donbass for Russia to take part of it. They were just swiftly arrested. When you are in a war of independence, it's not a war to gather many people. You've taken a path. You cannot be in a war of independence and be in an intermarriage with somebody who's talking about federation with the person you are fighting to get independence from. You don't marriage, it doesn't work. In law, they say equity and law, they flow in the same channels, but their waters never mix. The waters of federation and independence, they do not mix. Even if we are flowing in the same channel, he should understand that. He should not think that he's coming to sell federation to us. Let him go and sell federation to La République du Cameroon. I keep repeating. La République is the one that cancel federation. Talk to La République stations. Don't come to an Amber station and be talking. What are you doing? You want to campaign for followers? What is he doing here? Did we stop the federation? That is a message carried to La République, not to us. We don't want to listen to that message. As I said, the waters of independence fighting and federation, they are flowing in the same channel. The two waters never mix. We have a direction. If all what he's saying was before the war, I can understand his position, try. But now that circumstance has pushed us in a war, we don't turn back. We are in this war for better or for worse. It took some people 21 years, 22 years, 19 years. We are still 8 years, and we've done quite a lot. We've internationalized the struggle quite a lot. We've made the territory ungovernable in so many aspects. We've done a lot for within 8 years. So it's not a situation. If he is going for federation, if they don't give him federation, therefore, because when you go into negotiation, you don't come with the position you end up with. The position you end up with is not the position you came with. So if he compromises in the federation he's asking for, what will he get at the end of a negotiation? Special status. So he's just doing the things like a La République agent. The same things with his final position will be the La République offer. Because if you are going for the beginning, you want to now start asking for federation, and you know in negotiation nobody gets accepted.
I must stop you there.
Therefore, you are just end up. Your final position is special status or devolution. That's basically what you end up with. You cannot start at the beginning going for federation. It doesn't work that way. Let's even go for
you have
independence.
Disappointed me. I thought a lot more highly of you than what you are saying.
No, don't try to patronize me by defeating me. If you thought highly of me, you will not come and be feeding me with federation. You will not be feeding me with federation after 8 years of
Yes.
No, let me tell you
8 years
one
of
thing.
war. I'm losing my family members. You are coming to tell me of federation after 8 years? Your father, is that what he told you to be doing?
All
Comrade
right,
Tumasa,
all
let me
right.
tell you one thing.
Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Listen,
I think,
we have a
Comrade Chris, Comrade Chris.
Yes, Dennis.
reason why we should be
Yes,
is an independent
I keep
territory.
asking this question.
So don't go
Mr.
in circles.
Mukong is trying to play on the suffering of our people. That is the tactic of the enemy. The enemy causes you people so much suffering to extract people like Mr. Mukong to come and start crying and say, oh, our people are suffering, our people are suffering. My friend, if your people don't suffer, they will never get independence. Go back to history. As I say, the only way to educate yourself is to go back to history. Because you will tell me where independence has ever been given to people without a fight. Yes, if you can show me one
Where are you
country where
calling
a
from?
colonial master get up without a fight, you point it out to me. You point it out to
Where are
me.
you calling in
And you see,
from?
the devil will tell you that, oh, you are suffering, your God will not come now. Let me do everything. You are doing exactly like the devil does. You are doing exactly like
All
the
right,
devil
all
does.
right. Let's give him the opportunity to
Comrade Chris,
respond,
I
and then
need
we're
to
going to move
respond.
on to the next subject. Kwame, go ahead and respond, please.
So please, where are you calling from? You sit
Is that
in the
relevant? That's not
comfort.
relevant. Answer my question, please.
Listen,
Why? Do
listen.
you want to give his location
I'm
to
going
the
to respond you. I'm going to respond to you.
Yes.
But where you are calling from is equally important. When my
Please
father
don't give
did
him
what
that.
he did,
It's classified. Don't give your
listen, sir.
location to
Barrister
anybody
Thomas,
on air.
let Kwame speak, please.
Don't give your location to anybody on air.
Kwame, go
Yes.
on.
All you can tell me is I am not in ground zero. That would be a good answer. And
Just
that is
answer his
fair enough.
question the way you
Yes.
can.
Answer my question, because you are going back to the same pettiness of trying to plead our suffering as a cause to surrender.
So when you say I represent the voice of the devil, I would say you represent the voice of the devil. Okay? And when you are trying to say that I am doing this so that I will end up with special status, I would say to you that what you are doing is an attempt to end up with a special status. You guys who have, worked with the leadership of this struggle, you need to reason better than you have done over these years. You have disenfranchised so many people with positions like this. You need to do better than this. Our people's suffering has been aggravated because of the positions that you have adopted on many issues.
You are not
I am
answering
telling you what I am doing. What I am doing.
Answer the question.
If you would listen, you will get the answer. What I am standing for, and I will state that again, I am standing for the second best option based on the polls for our people. And I am telling you, who is standing for the first. Now watch what I am doing. And if you are smart enough, you will use what I'm doing. If you are wise,
go to La République. Go to La République.
All right. I think, ladies and gentlemen, please, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next subject. But let me say this before we round up this segment. The reason why we bring people who reason different from us is because at the end of the day, the solution to this conflict lies in the different shades of opinion that prevail in Ambazonia. And that's why at the beginning I stated that you have independentists, you have one Cameroonese, you have federalists, you have those who use the word autonomy. But at the end of the day, we don't need this discussion. We do this so that people watching can understand the differences between these shades of opinions that we hold and readily make up their minds as to what will happen, especially if we have the opportunity for a UN-sponsored referendum. And so for those who think that we should not be bringing people like this is not a democracy. I know that, but at the end of the day, we are told every shade of opinion will sit on that table. Those who talk about federation, independence with La République du Cameroon, or one Cameroonais, they will be on one side. And we who speaks for a free and independent Ambazonia will sit on the other side and we will decide what the final say is going to be. And so this debate will keep on going on until we get to that table. Thank you very much, KWAME, for joining me. And please, my panel, you can stay put for the next segment of this show. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back in less than 1 minute with my monologue for the day. And please, this is about the ADF. The ADF attacking people, civilians, taxis on the ground and trying to impose, or what I call grandstanding for so-called new color, taxi color in Ambazonia. Please stay put as I bring you that monologue in less than a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I come to you at this moment with my monologue for tonight, and this is centered around efforts on the ground by the ADF AGOV-C to intimidate taxi drivers and car owners to change their colors, grandstanding for what they absolutely have no control over. This week, an alarming event unfolded in the streets of Bamenda as hoodlums, I will call, claiming allegiance to the Ambazonian Defense Forces, took to the streets, spraying bullets at taxis in a barbaric attempt to enforce a change in taxi color from the universal yellow to white and blue. This reckless and brutish exercise resulted in numerous injuries and the destruction of many taxis, some of which may never be operational again. This blatant act of violence and chaos is unequivocally condemned by all Ambazonians who stand for justice, peace, and a genuine fight for our independence. The actions of the ADF this week are not just inexcusable. They are a direct affront to the values and aspirations of the Ambazonian struggle. While some of our fighters are making noble sacrifices and adhering to the principles of our cause, the ADF recent conduct threatens to tarnish the reputation of all freedom fighters. It is imperative that those within our ranks who truly fight for Ambazonia's liberation step forward to denounce these actions in the strongest of terms. Silence in the face of such atrocities makes one complicit, and at the end of the day, all will be painted with the same brush as collateral perpetrators. One must ask, why have the ADF fighters not shown such force and zeal against La Republique du Cameroon army, which is our main enemy, common enemy? Instead of directing their aggression towards the oppressors, they have chosen to inflict misery upon innocent civilians, our own people. This misplaced brutality always serves to further complicate the lives of the very people they claim to protect and to free. To understand, ladies and gentlemen, the gravity of the situation, it is essential to recognize the significance of the yellow color for taxis. The choice of yellow as the standard color for taxis across the globe is not unique to Cameroon. It is a global standard. Yellow taxis are easily recognizable, enhancing safety and convenience for passengers. This color did not originate from Cameroon or from France, not at all, from Chicago, but rather it has been adopted worldwide for its visibility and ease of identification. The ADF's attack on taxis and their demand for a color change from yellow to white and blue, Ambazonian colors, they say, have severe negative consequences. Should drivers comply with this demand, they would be subjecting themselves to arrest, extortion, and brutality at the hands of the La République du Cameroon's army. We all know that, which enforces the yellow color as the official standard. Additionally, changing the taxi color would necessitate a change for most private cars in white to avoid being mistaken for taxis. This would create confusion and impose unnecessary financial burdens on car owners. Moreover, the question of funding this forced change of color arises. A full body paint job for a car in La République du Cameroon costs at least 150,000 francs. Where are the drivers supposed to find the money for such a change? Many taxi drivers barely make enough to support their families, and this additional expense is beyond their means. It is unreasonable to expect them to bear this financial burden. The ADF's actions also raise serious questions about their priorities and motives. Why are they not directing their aggression and effort towards the real enemy, La République du Cameroon? Instead, they choose to burden and terrorize our own people, innocent civilians. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses owned by La République du Cameroon citizens in Bamenda that remain untouched by the ADF or any fighting force. Why are they not targeting these establishments if their goal is to undermine La République du Cameroon's presence in our territory? The answer is clear. Their actions are misguided and counterproductive, serving only to alienate the very people they should be protecting. The position of this interim government on this matter, ladies and gentlemen, is unequivocal. The color of taxis will remain unchanged. Drivers and civilians alike must resist any attempts by the ADF to bully them or force them to this senseless change. Wherever these fighters appear and attempt to carry out such brutality, the people must stand together, report them or hand them over, offer them up for capture. Every civilian in Bamenda, in particular, must rise against anything ADF until they are entirely eradicated. Ambazonians must understand that the true fight for independence does not lie in terrorizing our own people, but in standing united against the oppressive forces of La République du Cameroon. The ADF's actions this week have only served to weaken our cause and inflict unnecessary suffering on innocent civilians, our own people. Until the ADF demonstrates that it is genuinely committed to fighting La République du Cameroon like other restoration forces, they will not be recognized as comrades in arms. They will be recognized as enemies. For now, they are enemies to the Ambazonian struggle, enemies to our peace, and enemies to the progress of the struggle. The interim government calls upon all fighters who are genuinely committed to the Ambazonian cause to distance themselves from the ADF and its heinous actions. This is not the time for internal conflict and misguided aggression. Our focus must remain on the real enemy, La République du Cameroon, and our strategies must be directed towards achieving our ultimate goal of independence. It has long been a well-known idea that the ADF and the AGOFC want to seek to project themselves as having some control over Bamenda. It may be a good idea. However, how about first and foremost expelling the invading La République du Cameroon soldiers before even contemplating such a claim? How about avoiding or protecting civilians, our own people, from that ego? Until they begin to fight La République du Cameroon and put the peace and the security of our own people first, all they do is mere vanity, empty bravado, and grandstanding. That is my monologue for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Nebat, let me bring you in to make a response to this monologue. You have listened to me, and I guess this is one of the points. This is one of the points that KWAME MUKONG was making about the suffering of the people, and it is unfortunate that some of this suffering is coming from people that should be protecting our own people. I'd like to hear your thought on this, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Comrade Chris. I think a lot of the pains that our people are going through are self-inflicted. And we cannot afford to be inflicting those kinds of wounds on ourselves, especially when we know that the survival or the sustenance of our liberation movement depends on the civilians who unfortunately or unwittingly we are making the target of our excesses. The problem starts when, because I don't want to look at it as being caused by the ADF in general, in particular. I want to look at the principles within a liberation movement and how a gross violation of those principles could produce, could be counterproductive to the people's aspiration. Because right now, where we are standing, the people of the Southern Cameroons are tired and fed up, and they want to break away from La République du Cameroon. But anywhere you see people having a second thought, it is when things like this happen. And the result is because of egotism. The result is the fight for supremacy and other isms that are related to the self. So, but if the leaders in the liberation movement consulted with each other and agreed on a common strategy, there will be better thoughts. Some of these things will be well thought out and the process will be clearer. Because you cannot, without expelling the invader or the oppressor, start imposing this kind of harsh conditions on your people. If the leaders will sit down and agree on a number of things, they will see clearly that some moves are unworkable. They will see that certain moves are impracticable. For instance, the number of people we have lost in the process of collecting taxes is unspeakable. We have lost a lot of fighters in the process who went out to collect taxes. But you cannot have La Republique collecting taxes and you're collecting taxes at the same time without relieving the people of La Republique's capacity to collect taxes. Because once you relieve La Republique, once you relieve our people of La Republique's capacity to collect taxes, they will pay their taxes naturally. Don't ask me further, because when the leaders sit down, we can have that kind of discussion. Now, Comrade Chris, one of the things that I want to point out so that I don't overflock this issue of selfishness that has beset our liberation movement. And I want to draw from the very recent example where we had a delegation that came to see leaders in our liberation movement, and they wanted to meet with individuals. And the leaders came together and delegated you, Comrade Chris, and another representative to speak on behalf of all leaders in the liberation movement. And the two of you did it extremely well, without any bickering, without any fighting, without anybody trying to position himself that, oh no, we're the ones who sent them. You spoke on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon. And there was no litigation, no case. I think that Southern Cameroonians need to learn to speak as one and to take decisions in a collegial manner, in a collective manner. And when they do that, such decisions will be well thought out. And anything that looks like abnormal in the decision-making process will be taken out, so that the decisions that are taken will be in the best interest of our people. I believe in a united front. I believe in people working together. The work of the Consultative Commission to which I belong, and which has brought a number of Ambazonian leaders together to think and speak together, shows that in the near future, we should be able to break the stranglehold of La République du Cameroon. Continually impracticable. What I know is that we cannot successfully collect taxes in the Southern Cameroon. We cannot successfully we are just going to offer our people for sacrifice. La République will slaughter them. La République will seize their cars. They are going to extort money from them, and the extortion that has happened in the last 63 years will continue. So unless we really want to put our people in harm's way, there are some decisions that we need to begin to rethink. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get to Barrister Martin, because he has been, I have had an exchange with him on this subject, and he was wholeheartedly in support of this idea of changing the taxi color from yellow to whatever color that the proponents are enforcing on the ground. Barrister Martin, after seeing what is going on the ground, I wonder, do you still stand by that idea? Take a look at this image, please. Look at this before I come back to you.
Taxi, place no day. Taxi, place no day. Don't block the street. Any taxi, just come down. Shake, you know there. Shake, you know there. A camera doesn't have to pass. Shake, you know there. Any taxi, just come down. Any taxi call over one time. You know the blue and white, shake, you know there. You know the blue and white, shake, you know there. No one jump. No one jump. No one jump.
Barrister Martin, you look at the damage on your screen there that is being carried out by so-called fighters trying to enforce the change of their taxi color from yellow to black, to white and black. Is that what you are supporting in your advocacy for what these guys are doing on the ground?
Comrade Chris, before I get into the thing, it's better to just give you a background of this taxi issue. Some time ago, I had a phone call from Amber Newsline. He said fighters have had a meeting. They contacted him that he should announce the ban of taxis from 1st of June. So I asked that this thing you are asking like this is, we are talking like this. These guys in diaspora, if it is coming from the ground, they will think that it is a policy decision. Their powers are being usurped. Fighters are going now independent, and they will fight it tooth and nail. I asked that, should I take the policy, tell Chris Anu to announce it so that it should be as if it's coming from diaspora to try to cool down the resistance? He said no. If I give it to Chris Anu, Sako people will fight tooth and nail. So it's better it should, the fighters are the one who decided it, let they be the ones to do it. So I asked that, does Ayaba know about it? Because Ayaba too is very active in Mezam. He says, no. He's not yet told Ayaba that if you bring ADF near this thing, everybody will take their fight on ADF and put it on this thing. You are monologue there talking about this ADF. This thing had nothing to do with ADF. Ayaba was only told at the end, and he kind of, I think, endorsed it. He knew nothing about this. Ayaba, first of all, these guys who are breaking taxis, the ban starts on 1st of July. So you have some rogue guy drinks his beer and doing whatever he's doing. It's not even part of the policy. It's not even ADF. We know what ADF is doing in Mezam. We know ADF under General Cineman killed 2 gendarmes in Bambui. We know that. That's their actions. The one on the bike. We know ADF mobilized and killed a military guy at T Junction near Mubang College, former Mubang. We know about that. Those are the things. ADF attacked the bar which is selling brasseries and La Republique. We know their actions in Mezam. This taxi thing had nothing to do with them. That's just the background. I'm giving you the background because I was there from the beginning. They contacted me to get my opinion on this thing, and I was saying that this thing coming from the ground, it would turn into a power play, and it has turned into a power play. I said they will use the suffering of our people like every black legs is using and everybody to fight this policy. If you see, everybody is talking about the suffering of our people. People who want to make omelets without breaking eggs. That is what they are trying to do. But let's go back now to the history. Every policy which has come from elsewhere, whether good or bad.
Comrade, hold on with the policy. Let's not talk policy first. Let's talk about the idea itself. Let the people change their taxi colors from yellow to white. Let's talk about that. Is that a good idea?
The idea is, Chris, the idea is the policy. What is policy again more than idea?
All right, yeah, go on.
The idea is the policy. Yes. So first of all, people say, yellow taxis are international color. I don't know who gave them this idea. Go into a country, even if you come out in UK, I don't hardly see me any yellow taxi. Go to the Middle East. I've been to Dubai, I've been to Qatar, I've been to Saudi Arabia, I've been to the whole Middle East. We hardly have yellow taxis. I've been to many countries. So this issue about yellow is an international taxi color, people in their imaginations.
No, you are not correct. You are not correct, comrade. Listen, I don't come and sit here to just tell stories. I do my research before I come here to tackle certain issues. Taxi became, yellow became the international color for taxi, not because every city or country adopted it, but it began in Chicago, and for its visibility, for the visibility of yellow, the rest of the world began to adopt it. Mumbai, Pakistan, and all those places, even here in the USA, I believe some cities in the UK, they use that. Europe, they use that. So it is not so, because the idea behind this thing.
I think I got you. I think I mistook what you thought. I thought you were saying that yellow taxi is what they are using in every country. Because I've been
No,
to
no, no,
many
no. That's not
countries.
the idea. That's not. But the fact is that it is the
I've entered
most popular
green
color,
taxi. I've entered.
and
I
and
agree. Yellow
when.
is the most popular. We are talking that we're on the same page. Yellow is the most popular, but it's not the only color. So it is not that
Correct,
everybody
correct.
must
In
use
London, for
yellow.
example, you
Yes,
have your
okay.
black taxis.
Let's go back to the issue of policy. Chris, this war has seen a lot of things that affected vehicles. In Bafu, they were carrying sand. The whole of Bamenda was being loaded with sand, where every truck owner, 20 tons, that is the main job. When this war started for more than 2 years, the road to go to Boom was blocked. Though the trucks could not work, they could not even go to the Batu side to carry sand. A lot of them, when I started working in Yaoundé Douala, so this is not the first time that this war has done anything. How many people cried about the owners of those taxis and our people suffering? They've invested. One taxi is one tipper truck is costing 25 million to 30 million.
That
They
is
stopped them from
one.
working for
That is, comrade.
everybody
That
was
is
quiet.
one. If you have, do you know how many taxis are in Bamenda alone?
No, Chris, I'm giving you as examples. There are many trucks we are working in. The investment, one truck can buy how many taxis? What are we talking about?
No, it's not one.
So anyway,
That's not a comparison. The comparison is in not in the cost, but in what they are able to do. If you bring down 20 taxis or 50 taxis in Bamenda, you have changed the cost of transportation in Bamenda, because there will be a hike because of scarcity.
okay, let's go back to the taxi issue. These taxis, as I was mentioning in one write-up today, that a lot of these taxis, they would, when ADF, or let me talk ADF since you mentioned ADF, there was one point they brought up a policy about CEMAC numbers. They cannot be used in Bamenda. They said they will target our people. Go to Bamenda, all vehicles, they remove the CEMAC numbers, not a single person targeted. Any
Yes,
new
and
policy, people always talk about the
yes,
suffering of our
yes. And
people,
what
the
I'm
killing of
saying,
our
and
people.
I think that La
Let me
République.
finish, please. Let me finish. When the policy of Biafra Alliance was brought, I looked at it and said the policy had some benefits. I don't think the
It doesn't
area.
have any benefit,
They said,
comrade. Why? I don't
no, let
understand
me finish.
how you
I'll give
reason.
you the
How does
benefit.
allying with Biafra help us?
No,
You are
please,
just giving
listen.
Nigeria the reason to crush us,
No, they said they
to
will
seal
kill
their
our
border against
refugees.
us.
No, they said they will kill our refugees. No refugee was killed. The Biafra Alliance, if you know the thing that Akpo, that their prime minister and the rest are doing in Bakassi, each day you hear of 12 La Republic down,
And no,
9
and
La Republic down.
the alliance has nothing to do with that. The alliance was formed
How
with
do
an
you know? Are
inferior
you
faction of
Comrade Chris?
Biafra, not with Namdi Kano's faction, comrade.
Comrade Chris, if
Let's
you
bring it,
see
Dr.
any
Neba. You were saying something here.
Well, I always insist on us looking at at principles that can help us as a movement and that can help our people mitigate their pain. Um, I think that one of the things that some of these measures have uh, 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 helped to achieve is to also make the enemy to disguise and live among our people. Because when you look at many of those cars that soldiers now use, most before whenever you saw an unmarked car, a car without a plate number, or a car with a chassis number, it was a military vehicle. But today, without number plates, everybody is moving around. The army moves around very freely, disguised as ordinary civilian vehicles. It is easy for them to know what is happening where and to go stalk our people and to get rid of them in due time. So what I still think is that um, if we are to progress in our liberation movement, we are supposed to sit down and look and maybe determine what our priorities are, and then structure them in such a way that we we know which comes first and which comes second. Because if we are sporadic, we are going to produce this kind of effect. Because when people start arguing, it is because there is no coordination. There is no coordination. Because if we had a clear coordination, we would decide together what we are going to do next and why we are going to do it. And we will take time to educate our people and inform them why this one is good. Because once you just issue a decision by fiat without explaining to the people, to change the color of your car is not the same as taking off your number plate. To take off your number plate requires just a screwdriver and you bend down and you do it. But to paint your car requires, especially if the car was initially yellow, they'll have to take off that yellow paint. They have to prime it and then they have to paint it. And that's not less than 120,000. So if you look at the economy of this change of color, it runs into hundreds of millions, which is money that could have been harnessed for our liberation movement in some way. So why don't we sit down and figure out how we can harness those resources instead of causing people to spend the money wastefully? That is my.
Let me tell you why you are correct there, and I'm not saying Comrade Martin is far from the point. I think we will all agree on this point on the need to sit down, discuss some of these things before they go out. Because they go out, they start doing these things, and they think that we in the diaspora are supporting them, are sponsoring them, and then the very ground zero start sending in messages, start complaining. You guys should do something. We are dying here. We are suffering here.
Exactly.
If it is hurting La République du Cameroon, I don't mind. But it hurts our own people. If we lose them, who are we fighting for? Barrister Martin, please.
Comrade Chris, if you see the key issue, one issue is we are fighting a war, which is car fighting. Another thing we are fighting is differentiation, which is removing us from the integration in the system. If you cross the Mongo or you cross Matazan, you should know that we've crossed into a new country. They are fighting to get some de facto situation which is totally different from their system. That is not their system. Even the school year, theirs is starting in September. What we say, it will start in October. Not because we cannot start in September. We just want almost everything now to be differentiated. If we can succeed to differentiate our taxes when you cross and enter our land, you know you've entered a different place. So it has more intonation than just a matter of doing it. We are fighting against assimilation, against annexation, against forced unity with them. We are trying to differentiate. That is the main crux of this policy. First of all,
but certain things, comrade, certain things require better timing, not something like this.
I agree with Comrade Martin with Barrister Martin that it is symbolic, but I think that coordination is a critical issue, and then planning, because if we plan it well, we will not have the kind of hiccups that we are having, because eventually you do not a decision that is taken without proper planning cannot be totally accounted for, because it produces all kinds of emotions and different people feel justified in reacting the way they would react. For instance, when some boys went to collect taxes in some homes, it is those people who called the army to come and kill them. Not that they were not supporting the movement, but that they just found themselves with their backs against the wall, and they asked themselves, we have already paid this money before, why are they coming to take money again from us? Why is this thing not organized? Why are they just doing it like this? And then at the end of the day, we had casualties on our side. So to avoid us inflicting wounds on ourselves, let us sit down and see where we have gone wrong and see how we can fix things together before we proceed. To me, that is my humble suggestion.
Well, I think absolutely that is the way it should be done. I am not saying that these things should not be done, but timing is very important, because consider this. When you go forcing taxis to change their colors, and A lot of people in the Cameroon army, police, gendarme, they are out there. They are looking for opportunity to extort our people. And then you get a taxi driver to go and change his color from yellow to white and blue. The Cameroon army doesn't care that you are under duress from the fighters to do that. They say, which government are you loyal to? Ambazonia, isn't it? You will pay. Individuals pay. Their families suffer when they should not. Certain things are better left when we have certain control over the territory.
That is why I said that. That is why I said that we need to arrange. We need to prioritize our options so that we know what we are going to start with, what will be next, and so on. So that if there is anything that is going to put our people in an open confrontation with La République, then we put because we must insulate our people from that confrontation. We must. Otherwise, we are sending them to jail. They will arrest people. They will take them to jail. They will impound their cars. These vehicles are a source of livelihood. Even the burnings that are going on now, this is depriving whole families of a source of livelihood in the midst of the poverty that has already struck our people. So I think we need to really look at it. We need to look at it. Yes.
All right. Comrades, thank you for being part of the broadcast today. I am going to open the phone lines for a few minutes. Time is far spent. Dr. Neba, thank you for coming on. Barrister Martin, thank you for being part of the broadcast. Dennis Atem has left already. Thank all of you for being part of the broadcast. All right, at this moment, when I come back, I am going to open the phone lines. To get your contribution. Stay tuned, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is open lines right now. If you have been listening, watching, and you have a contribution to make, the lines are open for you to make your contribution. I have the Honorable Sama Thomas on hold. Hello, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Comrade Chris, and let me say hi to all your panelists, especially Dr. Niba and Barrister Tumasang, and my senior comrade there, Mr. Dennis Atemken. I'm going to the situation on the ground now, which Barrister Tumasang is defending, which I'm not really in support of that position. The reason being that it is not every proposal that the boys on the ground comes up with that we say, yes, this proposal is correct. Why must it shun from some of these proposals coming from the boys on the ground is that we should put it back to them about their own security situation. Taxis with yellow colors are identifiable colors that anybody can identify. If you say all should go blue and white, and Lara Public blends into that society, will it not cause us more harm than the situation we already find ourselves into? Again, even if Lara Public is not going to do that, if La Republic will pounce on our people, why are people choosing to spray your vehicles with blue and white, which is amber color, going against our rules and regulations? Our people are killed by them, for we are giving them an easy opportunity to kill our people for nothing, arrest them and lock them up for nothing. Is that good enough for our people to go through a situation? Let Barrister Tumasang give us his own advice or take on this type of policies which are counterproductive to all of us and to our people on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, comrade. That is exactly the point I am making. Thank God Barrister Tumasang is still here. Let me bring him on to respond to you.
Comrade Chris, sorry, I went to grab a drink, so I didn't hear all of his thing, but I heard a bit of it. The issue is, he is saying that the policy is not the problem with the policy. The implementation is the key thing which they are talking about. Because if it's a matter of the policy by itself, whether if La Republique decides to paint their cars in taxi colors and go about doing their security business, what will you stop them from? They can do it if they want to. They can paint taxis. Actually, they painted taxis, their own private vehicles as taxis, and go around buying and doing things. They've even had people bought taxis and give them to blend. So color of taxi is immaterial in terms of security. They can do any color. So let's forget about that part. The second part is the implementation of it. They've implemented where at one time they stopped these long vehicles, the 70-seaters from Amanda. They threatened them and stopped. The guys realized that they must pay some money before they can be doing. They cannot be getting money for Bamega giving. The guys went to the command and told them that, look, you can protect us. You are not everywhere. If you are climbing station or going, these guys hide in the bush and spray the gun in the vehicle, what will you do? Can you protect in all the bushes? That is where the vehicle and appear in the bush. That we cannot risk ourselves and our vehicles. We will go and talk to them and give them something so they can allow us. They went and negotiated and came out to their business. So when the taxi union will realize this thing is serious, they will go to Mandang and say, we cannot risk our taxis. We will paint this thing and whatever, unless you...
No, comrade, we can't even go there. It's not the right thing to do. Even if we should be changing colors, it is not the right moment. I think it is good enough to settle with that and educate people. It is a wrong step at the wrong time. Let's get back to the phones. Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the northern zone.
All right. And what is on your mind, sir?
I think by Satumas and the talking, no. He talks about risk will life for a year. All that area where is in and they go carry the storm bar. Now this very group where the terrorist people them. Now they don't lock them with road with the complicity with the Labour army. When they different they look like from them with Russell. When they kidnap people them now for they don't go hide. So many people they don't know they do their business for they would come out Labour army. They've been a complicity with the Labour army. Maybe know from today. Say that area where they talk now they did that complicity with Cameroon army. They don't bring the road now for they don't go hide. When they kidnap people, they go for day. So many people they don't see them. How they do that matter them for day. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for the call. Let's see who is next. The phone line is open. Let me see who is next. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Comrade Chris.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the southern zone.
Oh, this is My country people guy. Sorry, you are not needed here. Oh no, it's not you. It's not you. The guy tried to call. Go on. Yeah, I see his number here.
Yeah.
So miss call.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
Okay. Okay. I just called to talk about the guy who was talking about the federation.
Okay.
There's one thing that really baffles me with these our children of today. Now look at the phone of Nsembinglo.
Yes.
You know, his father was a lion. His father was a lion, but from realization, he has given birth to a pussycat. Equally like Abel Mukong. Abel Mukong was a lion, but he has given birth to a millipede. Because he has come and actually said gibberish about federation and all whatnot. I would advise him to go to Comrade John Bakuru and listen to most of his outing about federation. La Republique will never give us federation. Yes, they were the people who stopped the federation. How can he go and ask them to give them what they don't even want? And really, like I wrote, please, Comrade Creed, even though you say you bring them so that we get differentiation of opinion, but what I will say is that please, at times, stop bringing those people. They are poisoning our minds.
No, listen. I think you may be thinking just on our. Hold on a second there. You may be thinking just on our own side. Don't you think that when they come on and listen to people like Barrister Martin, Temkeng, Neighbor, and the rest, and hear reactions from people like you, don't you think it is only then they realize how unpopular their positions are? They go out thinking differently.
Yeah, that is the truth. But the phone is, at times, they are just so nervous. Like they climb on our nerves.
Yeah,
so
we have to dismantle them. We have to dismantle them so that by the time that we have the chance to go for a referendum, they know they have no chance.
Yes, okay. Let's pray and hope that we go for a referendum, because that is one of the way that we here on Ground Zero we determine.
Yeah.
Yes. But the fact is, when I look people like that, like I was saying, how can lions be giving birth to pussycats and millipede and all kinds of nonsense? They come and be giving us gibberish. Let them stand like their father stood and spoke and died just for one thing. Had it been his father was around today, his father would have championed total separation. His father would have been
absolutely. That's the way I think.
For that, like Adu Karim is doing, writing in prison. And he's even promising us that we should wait and see what. Just tell him, Barrister Tubasa has just been rubbish the guy, and he came with his anger, was trying to talk and say all things. Well, let them just continue to talk, but let them know that we here in Ground Zero, what we want is total separation and nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the call. You have a great night. All right, the line is open, ladies and gentlemen. The line is open. Go ahead and call. I see so many people trying to call. Go ahead and call. The line is open at this moment. Go ahead. Hello.
Yes, this is calling from Germany. Good evening, Comrade Chris.
Good evening, sir. What is on your mind? Hello. Hello. Apparently, this phone wasn't charged enough, and the battery is dead. Very, very, very unfortunate. We cannot continue to take the calls. The phone wasn't charged good enough to last for long, and it has shut down. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't realize that, but I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. That's been a very, very exciting show. Again, what we do, we don't do it with ignorance. We do it so that we're able to dismantle certain arguments and educate our people, because, ladies and gentlemen, this thing will end on the table where every shade of opinion will be listened to. We better listen now and figure out how we respond. And so that is why we do it this way. We bring in some of these guests. Again, thank you for tuning in tonight. I look forward to coming back to you on Monday. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.